Welcome, everyone, to International Podcast Day 2020. And as you've heard me say many times, we are zipping around the world, talking to podcasters and digging up these gold nuggets of information that are just amazing that we can all utilize in our own lives and in our own podcasts. I have with me today Mark Stedman, who is the owner, CEO of Podiant, located in the UK, and also a gold sponsor of International Podcast Day. And we couldn't be happier. One of the things I truly appreciate is that Mark, even though he's a sponsor, is opening up his session to allow other podcasters to have their voice. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I nearly did the classic Zoom thing of, dude, you're muted. And just remembered to unmute myself. So hello.
Very good. So I'm going to turn it over to you because I know we're crunching on time on this. So enjoy. And I believe you're going to be showing a video.
Yeah, I'm going to go directly against the advice that was just given on the previous session, and we're going for stingers and intros and all sorts of stuff.
Let's do it. So I'm going to turn it over to you. Have a great
Wonderful.
presentation.
Thank you. Hello. Wow. If I can get anything from my appearance on International Podcast Day, it's going to be that my head appears and emerges out of a giant O, an open sans O. If you know that's my dream come true. Hello, my name is Mark Stedman, and I am the founder of a podcast hosting company called Podiant. That bit's not important. If you want to know about who we are and what we do, then yeah, there's a little video that comes a little bit later, but it's only about 90 seconds. It's fine. And of course, you can Google us. This is genuinely about. So when I started looking into International Podcast Day, attended things for the last couple of years, just as a viewer online. And when I thought about getting involved this year, I thought this is, love the opportunity, and was really pleased to, have this chance to spend an hour with people. But what I didn't want to do is sit here and say, okay, so this is our service, and we have this, and you click this button, and oh look, we've just released this feature. Instead, I wanted to do something a little bit different. And as an indie podcaster myself, I built what I built because that's what I am. And I've always wanted to use whatever platforms I've got, whatever little megaphone that I happen to have in my hand at that particular time. I want to try and use that to give other people a little chance at a voice for whatever reason. Maybe they couldn't go the full hour, didn't want to, or whatever. Like, I'm really excited to bring you the selection of podcasts that we've got today that come from all over the place. And also, very quick thing before we get in. I got an email from a journalist this morning, and he says to me, he says, I noticed you've promoted a podcast that's on a competitor's service. And that's very generous. I was like, that's what we do. This is not an exclusive to Podiant thing. So the call went out a few months back to podcasters. So listen, I've waffled on long enough. I'm going to try and drive this thing, and we're going to start in the UK, and we are going to start with the Film Review Podcast.
Hello, I'm Craig.
And I'm David.
And we present a podcast called Is It Worth It? The Film Review Podcast.
We go out of our way to see all the films in the cinema, even the bad ones, so you don't have to.
As well as seeing the films in the cinema, we know you can enjoy film at home.
We also produce Cinema at Home, a look at all the films available on the plethora of streaming services, presented by Herbie and Ranjit.
If you want to get topical with certain genres or themes, why not take a listen to Topical Talk? We pitch to an overlord what we think is the best film of a certain topic. Think Keanu Reeves, Guilty Pleasures, or even the ultimate sequel.
Throughout the year, we've also produced some one-off episodes. For example, Mental Health Awareness Week, International Women's Day, Star Wars, The Complete Saga Review, and Earth Day have also featured on Is It Worth It?
David also produces A Road to the Oscars. As a big fan of the award season, David talks to guests and other members of the team to predict, discuss, and analyze the road to the Oscars. So if you love film and want to know what's worth watching, then listen to Is It Worth It?
The Film Review Podcast.
Available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all good podcasting apps.
Or head on over to www.isitworthitpodcast.com to stream online today.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jen Trepic, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hello, friends at International Podcast Day. I'm Jen Trepic, host of Salad with a Side of Fries. Ever wondered how to decipher between all the diets out there? Ever feel like you know what to do, but it just isn't working? It's true that your diet could actually be making you fatter. Ever wondered if cryo-freezing your fat cells really works? Should you try a hypnotist, an acupuncturist? And if you do, how do you know if someone's any good? Salad with a Side of Fries is the podcast that answers all these questions and more. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. This is the podcast where we talk about having a real life, eating out, having a cocktail, being short on time, while still making ourselves and our health a priority. I'm your host, Jen Trepic, and before I became an optimal health coach, I grew up the skinny one in a family of dieters, which was awesome until it went away. So I can tell you there isn't a diet out there that I haven't tried, my family hasn't tried, or we don't know someone who's tried. What turned it all around for me, though, and has allowed me to say I've kicked my food issues, is the nutrition education we're all supposed to know, but no one ever taught us. From that point on, I've been on a mission to help people help themselves with this information. Since 2008, alongside my more traditional business career, I've built a thriving practice helping people look better, feel better, have more energy, and create true wellness for life. All of this is yours for the taking here on this podcast. You see, on some level, we all know, quote unquote, what to do. But then we hear Dr. Oz say one thing. The news yesterday told us broccoli is the miracle food, but now today there's a study saying broccoli causes cancer. Your friends on Instagram are touting keto. Your trainer's talking Whole30, and the doctor said to go to Weight Watchers. No wonder we've yo-yoed. And we seem to have this constant running loop of a food conversation going on in the back of our minds. Am I right? Together, we can tie up that yo-yo for good. So I'm here to tell you, though, you can do this. Join me and other wellness experts every Wednesday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, or your favorite listening platform. Of course, Salad with a Side of Fries podcast.com is there for you too. And I'd love to connect with you. So please find me on Instagram at Jen Trepic. So let's do this. Hang up your fat pants and click subscribe.
I feel seen. Do you ever listen to a podcast trailer or watch one on YouTube or whatever and think, yeah, that podcast, I think is that made specifically for me? They might have just called it the Mark Steadman podcast. Anyway, that's Jen Trepic with Salad with a Side of Fries. Wonderful name for a podcast as well, and thoroughly charming. And before that was the lovely boys and girls at Is It Worth It, the film review podcast. And you may have noticed that there are little QR codes in these videos. It's not just, to give us a small degree of razzle dazzle. They are there so that if you don't manage to catch the details of the show and the web address or whatever, and sometimes they're long web addresses, you know how podcasting be, then you can snap that QR code. And also, don't worry about missing anything. If you like the look of any of these shows, and I really hope you do, then you can head over to our blog, which is podiant.co/blog, and the latest post up there has the full rundown, also the YouTube video of the trailer that they made, and a link directly to their website, because I'm all about podcast websites. I'm a bit of a nerd about linking to, like, getting your own podcast website and linking to it directly. So that's what we do. So that is salad with a side of fries. We are staying kind of food related. I just made a pizza, and that's relevant because of this reason.
Hi, my name is Tyler Smart. I am one half of the Pizza Bros podcast. My brother Tanner is at work. I'm doing this in my car on my break. So I have a podcast called the Pizza Bros Podcast. It's just my brother and I. Sometimes we interview guests, usually over Skype, and we review pizza, pizza-flavored things, anything that it has to do with pizza, pretty much. We also, in I think about the last year or so, started also doing candy, or really any weird sweets that we could find, because there's always something popping up. Now, what sets us apart from other ones is that pizza, really. There's not really any other pizza-based podcasts out there. From what I can find, are the only one. We have fun, lively conversations about the world and things going on in our lives, just different things we think about. We do have a little bit of language, so if you're trying to listen to us with your kids, I don't recommend it. Anyways, yeah, so the candy thing too, which I know candy and sweets is done by other people, but we really like candy a lot. Same with pizza. The first year that we recorded, we did a thing called the Saucy 16, where it was a 16 frozen pizza bracket. And I'll tell you the winner, but you gotta listen to find out. And we pride ourselves on being concise. We don't want to flower it up with a lot of fancy language and things like that when we review our pizza. We just eat it and let you know what we think, the things that they could do better, worse. We've done vegan, vegetarian, like dairy-free, grain-free, anything pizza, I swear. You can follow us on Pizza Bros Pod on Twitter and Instagram. I think our Facebook is still up. I kind of got rid of Facebook a while ago for us because it wasn't really doing anything. But I highly recommend listening to us, Pizza Bros Podcast. We have 180 episodes out as of right now. We're going to record later this week. So please check us out. Feel free to email us at pizzabrospod@gmail.com or hit us up on all of our social medias. And I look forward to hearing from you guys.
My podcast is called The Diversity of Me, Keeping It Real. So the deal is that I showcase the unique stories of how everyday people are keeping it real. And I also wheel out some of my poetry. Well, it's more like spoken word that highlights my authenticity, which is a buzzword that everyone's heard time and time again. I know. So I talked to my counsellor about the drama triangle to try and untangle what it means to be human. Listen.
The drama triangle is a concept of a theory called transaction analysis, and they go on about all these transactions and how people interact with each other. And the drama triangle is one of these classics, and it has these three elements: it's victim, the rescuer, and the persecutor. And it's quite a funny thing because we simply step into it without even noticing. So somebody then sets themselves up as a victim. Oh, I can't do this. And then the rescuer comes with coming with all sorts of suggestions, and the persecutor only tells them is get on with things and do whatever.
You can find it in all the usual places, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other spaces. So wherever you get your podcasts, you know the spiel. The Diversity of Me, Keeping It Real has achieved its conquest to feature diverse guests like this one.
There still is high kind of influence of white middle-class men in that world. And so when anyone else walks in, you're out of place because they're not used to seeing people like you. So you're deemed risky before you've done anything. You know, all the work you do, whatever, people are always going to look and try and say, oh yeah, you've done that. But, would you be able to do that?
Yeah.
And assume that you can't, rather than giving you the benefit of the doubt. So it's about that thing of not even being allowed to fail. You don't get the opportunity to, on the big thing, to even have a go in the first place.
I created my podcast for your disposal and to help me stay social during lockdown. It's brought me so much joy during difficult times and encouraged me to write more rhymes. You can follow me on social. I'm at Diversity of Me. So that's it from me. Do take it easy.
We're on YouTube. So there needs to be a gratuitous shot of of a cat who does not want to let go because she's a sweet girl. She's my sweet precious angel. Now, I use my cat here, who is one of two, who is now pawing at the microphone. Thank you. You've illustrated my point well enough, my beautiful girl, and I shall feed you in a bit. I bring Bailey to illustrate a point. She was sat here that we have. So I was thinking about podcasting during lockdown and what that's meant for many of us. Now, I think for lots of us, we haven't necessarily changed. You know, I'm in the same studio that I've always been in. I've actually moved things around a little bit, but not that much for me has changed, except. And I'd love to know in the chat and stuff, and maybe we'll get a chance to talk about this later. It's everybody else. You know, I live in a flat. And so, you know, there's been all sorts of things happening, and there's people here who aren't normally here. I mean, it's 8 p.m. here in the UK right now. And so, yeah, you'd expect them to be home, but you know, it comes to noon and you're recording, and then there's people doing their yoga or other things that are, you know, or exercising their dog inside of a flat. And, I'm interested in, like, it's not just the lives of the actual podcaster, you know, that's changed. People who live with other people. We now need new systems for how we deal with home studios. You know, do we have to hang something on a door to say please don't come in? Like, it's all interesting, and I love that you've got a podcast like The Diversity of Me, which is sort of fueled by lockdown. I've got this thing in my head at the moment about the podcaster's revenge against 2020. Like, we all need to band together and have our revenge against 2020, because it needs to be shown a thing or two. But yeah, so we've got lots more podcasts to show you. The next two, the second one of the batch, I will give you a little bit of a trigger warning. There's no bad language or anything like that, but it deals with themes. Obscure is the wrong word. It is a very surreal show, and I love this trailer because I'm thoroughly fascinated by the contents within, and what this show is actually going to mean. But yeah, if you're feeling a little bit unsettled by it, it's just it's a fiction podcast, so it's it's nothing upsetting in that regard. But I just thought I'd do you the courtesy of just letting you know it might make you feel a little bit weird and uncomfortable, just because it's a bit weird. But before that, we've got something that is hilarious and deals with a lot of tinfoil hattery. And so if that interests you, then I would like to present two people from Birmingham in the UK. One's called Kat and the other one is called Tom.
Cat's Cabinet of Curiosities is a podcast about conspiracy theories, cults, and general craziness. It's a show where we dive into those strange corners of the internet that you find yourself on late at night. We cover things like the Loch Ness Monster, Denver Airport is evil, Britney Spears worked for George Bush, Tom Hanks's Instagram, aliens, Bitcoin was made by Satan, is Finland real, R.I.P. my search history. Here's a clip of us talking about an alternative medicine craze that Bear Grylls might enjoy. Urine therapy is a practice of drinking one's own urine for medical purposes. But we'll talk about this interview first. Search Extreme Health Radio. It's on there. And that's
Extreme Health.
Extreme Health.
Oh, I'm going to take a paracetamol on a skateboard.
No, Tom, I don't believe in paracetamol. So it's a natural health channel who are like anti-vax, anti-prescription meds, that kind of thing. So Dave talks about his experience with urine therapy and how it caused all his hair to grow back. And I mean, his hair still hasn't grown back. He's still balding. So
How, like, bold as in B-O-L-D do you have to be like, yeah, made my hair grow back, and when your hair has not grown back?
I think it's just delusion. It's severe dehydration. He thinks he's got hair.
Yeah, that might be it.
Really highbrow stuff. And here's us talking about whether or not the moon exists. What if this were all a lie? Maybe the moon is a hologram, or maybe the moon is hollow. So there's some people with doctorates claiming the moon is hollow, so that's how you know it's legit.
Well, you know, the guy who drinks his own piss works in IT. We've all got blind spots.
And because we're so scientific, here's us evaluating the evidence for the Loveland frog, a cryptid supposedly shaped like a big frog man thing. A lot of conspiracy theories, when you've got all the evidence together, you can be like, yeah, this is loads of evidence. But when you start crossing things off one by one, it becomes more like just one guy who saw this thing and other people who got the idea from him.
A cop is probably quite stressed out. He's driving around late at night looking at shadows. It's not enough on its own to be like, yeah, there's a man frog with nipples.
If you like the sound of this and you've already got a tinfoil hat to wear, then subscribe. You can find Cat's Cabinet of Curiosities on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also follow us on Twitter @catscabinet_pod or on Facebook @catscabinet. Thanks for listening.
I've seen you prodding the rim of a behemoth skull inside a dream you don't remember, excavating calcite layers of secret and lie. But despite your caution, the object of your searching gazes upon your delicate frame and ingests you from cell to organ to the theory of your imagination, and I do nothing to help you. I just hit record and applaud the 1,000 mouths that swallow. The nesting zone is surrounded by a 500-foot-tall hedge jungle, a rim of tropic glacial paradise, gnawed ceaselessly by paleomythic reptiles.
The stars in the sky were evil, a sin, the souls of long-lost devils dancing naked in the dark.
You think the chameleons have a sense of humor?
I think the chameleons have a sense of everything.
Every few days, a battle fight breaks out. Automatic weapon fire popping against the extra-dimensional moons of megafauna.
Peekaboo, I'll eat you.
Staying sane isn't an option here.
No one is ever going to hear your story. The ones you're trying to tell.
Ectothermic angels on all fours, vomiting out the blood of heaven to bless the battlefield.
They're all going to be eaten.
If you're listening to this story in hopes of finding meaning, go ahead and slice your ears off. Come on, tell me, how close can you stare at the tip of a knife?
Is it safe to come? Woo! I did warn you. Yeah, that's quite the thing, isn't it? The Great Chameleon War. It's several nightmares mixed in with something from that director who did the Twin Peaks thing and Welcome to Night Vale and all sorts of disturbing things. So if you want to be disturbed, then there's that. Now the rest of the show, it's all quite either upbeat and educational or empowering and or infotaining. So that's we've got over the disturbing bit. I did want to show you that though because I thought it was fascinating. And before that was Cat's Cabinet of Curiosities, who I have had the very great pleasure of attending a live event with, and they did. What was the one they did? I think it was all about whether Beyonce is real or something. Anyway, it's definitely worth a listen, as are all the shows. And like I said before, you will find all of the information about all of the podcasts at podiant.co/blog. The latest post there has details on where you can get all of the shows. So coming up, I was interested in this. So obviously, it is International Podcast Day. It is a celebration of podcasting, the medium and the people. That's what we're here for. And one of the panels. So I love the panel that was earlier with Mackenzie and Laura and Candy talking about. Well, I only caught sort of the last 15 minutes, and it was absolutely brilliant. Like loads of really good advice. So I urge you to spool back and check it out. And if you're watching live, then definitely stick around later for Adam Curry, who's talking about podcasting 2.0. That's definitely going to be worth a listen. He is a co-inventor of podcasting, and he did the job that I'm sort of doing now, where he was a VJ. Yeah, so he's got the hair for it. I'm not sure if I have. So that is coming up. It's a really great lineup, and I am thrilled to be a part of it. So, what are we going to do next? I think what we should do next is a very short promo and something of a very different nature. So something, if you like, of a palate cleanser.
Hi, I'm Steve Kane. I'm known as the Dean of Wrestling Referees. And for 30 years, I have been all over the country in various promotions. I've worked with some of the biggest names in the business. And so every Friday night at 9 Central Time here in the U.S. on Blog Talk Radio, I present a show called Live from the Dean's Den. In it, I use my 30 years of experience as well as my contacts within the industry to explain some of the latest goings on in the professional wrestling scene and what you might be watching out for that could be happening soon. So I'm hoping to hear from you Once again, Steve Kane, live from the Dean's Den, every Friday night at 10, 9 Central Time, on Blog Talk Radio, on Anchor, on Spotify, on iTunes, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Welcome back. This is the well, it started off many months ago as the Podiant 3-minute podcast pitch project, and it is now the Indie Showcase because that's what we're doing. We are showcasing independent podcasting talent from all over the place, and certainly not just from the Podiant stable. We opened this up far and wide, and as a result, I'm loving the submissions that we've been getting in. So I hope you've been enjoying them as well. Yes, that was Steve Kane, and I want to know, like, I never got into wrestling as a kid. I need to know. Obviously, Steve has his perspective. What is the one wrestler that I should follow that's going to get me into wrestling? Because I feel like I should get into wrestling, and I'd like to know. So there's another question for the chat. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity to comb through some of those questions later. But yes, let me know. Like, if you know from wrestling, let me know what wrestler is really going to pique my interest and make me a wrestling devotee. Anyway, let's do something entirely different now. Let us talk about musicals.
Hi, listeners. I'm Kay, a musical theater nerd.
And I'm Warren. I'm musically challenged.
We host a podcast called Tone Deaf, a theater nerd's guide for their musically challenged spouse, where every week I introduce Warren here to a new musical, and he attempts to recount it.
It's really broadened my horizons and shown me that just about anything can be made into a musical. I have an idea, Kay.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to write a musical about cookies. That's right, cookies. Biscuits to you listening outside of the U.S. That's right, baked goods. The show will be called Hot and Bothered. And it will center around Chip, a chocolate chip cookie who doesn't want to be a chocolate chip cookie, but wants to be a snickerdoodle.
Now, Tone Deaf is not for all ages. Outside of our Black Theater History episodes in February.
I kind of have a potty mouth.
But we here at Tone Deaf believe that humor is the best way to cope with the weird world of musical theater.
Adams tries to invite Big Ben to dinner, but Ben is like, nah, I have a date with one of my hoes. I'd invite you for some Eiffel Towering, but she's scared of talking.
Also, what's an Eiffel Tower?
Adams lets Google it. Adams lets Big Ben. Don't Google it at work.
No, it was a time.
Oh, before the. God damn it. See, this is what happens when you try to make jokes, but the person you're making jokes to is smarter than you.
Of course, we here at Tone Deaf are not all Richard humor and tangents. We strive to be both entertaining and educational.
We're edutational.
I remember that
boys from the wild. Look, Latte, ravens. Oh my God, seriously? Ravens with Kay's face? We're not ravens, you numbnut. Yeah, we're crows. Seriously, fan-shaped tails, sleek bodies. We're in a large group. Yeah, and if you have to ask, it's a crow. Ravens are much bigger than crows. Seriously, haven't you ever seen a bird? Like, our voices aren't even deep enough to be raven voices.
Be sure to check us out every Wednesday on Apple, Spotify, Podbean, Stitcher, or wherever you get your podcasts. And be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Tone Deaf Musical.
You can also reach us at our website, tonedeafmusical.com.
That'll be it for now. We hope you check us out.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, this is Charity.
And this is Sarah.
And we are 2 out of the 4 hosts for the new Double Stuff podcast. And this is a podcast that we started earlier this year. We started recording back in January, and then we launched it April 1st, which was right in the middle of the pandemic, but it was perfect timing because the goal of the podcast was to not talk about any of the hot topics, any of the sort of the bad topics that we hear about on the news. We wanted to have more of a lighthearted feel, have some fun, have some laughs, and sort of give people a break.
I read somewhere, I don't remember where, that some people use gummy worms for bait.
The
I've
fake
used
bait looks
corn
like gummy worms.
before, like a can of whole corn. That'll catch.
Like you put a can. You put a can on a hook.
I knew where this was going. I knew Sarah was going to say this.
Put a little, just a whole ear, floating in the water.
You see some little trout behind with a little can opener. Basically, what you're hearing in the podcast is usually how our conversations go. It started out with, some kind of seemingly normal topic, and then we get completely, left field or
which is basically how we are at work. We're 4 coworkers. We've been working together for about 4 or 5 years now,
something like that.
Yeah. And so the podcast was more of a, wouldn't it be funny if ... and then we were finally like, well, why don't we?
Let's do it. Cotton candy goes very well with 15% milk. Comes from
15%.
15%. That's
What
like a
is
solid
that?
brick of milk.
Cheese. I drink cottage cheese for breakfast. Goes down chunky.
We do a bit of a, I guess, almost like an after show that the 2 of us do. It's called Just Us Cookies. And a lot of those episodes, they kind of go with some of the episodes that we talked about in the podcast. Sometimes.
Other times we just have random games that we play.
It's actually been a lot of fun. It gives us an outlet. For me, it's been a bit of sanity.
We've had a few people tell us, like, this is how I made it through lockdown. A friend of mine recently told me this is what she listens to when she goes grocery shopping. So whenever she does her weekly shopping, she turns on the new episode, and that's how she can kind of stay focused.
For all the new people out there, keep doing what you're doing. Use what you have and create some really awesome stuff. So if you want to check out the Double Stuff podcast,
please do.
You can check us out on doublestuffpod.com. And for our most up-to-date and current podcast, we have them on all the major podcast platforms.
And we're also on social media, so Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, where you can get all the notifications and extra bits and videos that you don't see on the podcast page. Until then, happy International Podcast Day.
So that was the Double Stuffed podcast, and before that was Tone Deaf. With Tone Deaf, like, you would be hard put, I think, to find like 2 people who quite clearly are just lovely, and just, you know what I mean? Like the whole shot is just like, oh, I just want to take them home. That's so lovely. And I love the sound of Double Stuffed. And like as someone who, God, 12 years ago, I made a podcast, which was me and two co-workers. We did it on a lunch break, you know, and it was terrible. But it was really great fun, and that's like, that was my first podcast, and that's how I got into the medium. I got hooked, you know, back in did I say 12 years ago? Yeah, 2008. That's right, isn't it? Anyway, maths. But yes, and the other thing is that I think it's really interesting to look at this if you are a podcaster yourself and you're thinking, like, looking at ways that you can improve your marketing or whatever. We all talk about like audiograms and such. I really like that approach of just like the four, you know, heads of the speakers and just little speech bubbles. Like, that's really nice. It takes a bit of work to put together, but I think that's a really cool little thing if you just want to make a little social video. So like, absolutely something to learn there from the team at Double Stuffed. Absolutely lovely. So a quick thing to say, good luck to everyone in the People's Choice Awards that are coming up later today. I think I'm going to be in bed. I'm not eligible because I haven't entered. But good luck to everyone. I hope that you get everything out of it. It's I know Todd and the team put a hell of a lot of work into the podcast awards. So I look forward to seeing what comes out of it, because there's always something interesting that comes out of the podcast awards, whether it's you know, a new podcast or a controversy or a story or something. So yeah, like, genuinely, if you are entered, best luck to you, and let's keep celebrating podcasting. So we're going to change tack a little bit now. We're going to go a little bit where I've put my jacket on, as you noticed. I didn't have it in the opening segment because I forgot. But I've got my jacket on now, and I should really go and get a tie, because we're going to get a little bit more professional, but still, you know, human, because I think that's the way we like it. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Jane.
Hello, I'm Jane Barrett, and my show, Grow Your Own Career, helps you do just that. I'm the co-author of the book, Taking Charge of Your Career, and I lecture in business schools in Europe on exactly that topic. My show interviews authors who bring us insight into how to get the career you want, and entrepreneurs who've successfully changed career and set up exciting businesses that actively strive to make the world a better place. If you feel a bit lost as to what to do now, perhaps you're facing redundancy, or you're really unhappy in your job and feel really trapped, I've made this podcast for you. Perhaps you've always dreamt of setting up your own business with a purpose, or you have a small business and you want to learn from those who are a few steps on from you. I don't interview people like Richard Branson, Tim Ferriss, Bill Gates. I mostly interview people who are like you and me, people who've set up small, meaningful businesses and are at a relatively early stage in their journey. You'll get stories, the ups and downs of running a small business, and you'll learn from people who've made mistakes and what kind of challenges they've faced and overcome. You'll get tools and tips, market insight, and expert advice on being proactive in your career. I've interviewed a lot of career changers, from a headmaster who set up a forest carbon offset company, to a chartered surveyor who set up an adventure company in Scotland. And I've just recorded an interview with the founder of a company who turned ocean plastic into dog beds. Here's a clip of an interview with former CEO of Jamie Oliver's restaurant 15, Liam Black, and he pulls no punches when it comes to his advice for entrepreneurs.
Giving a talk to a bunch of young social entrepreneurs in the East End of London, and you know, my kind of veteran gives his top tips type of shtick. And one of the young lads there said to me, "Well, if you had to just give us one tip, Liam, what would it be?" And I said, "Okay, my one tip is only do what you love, because life is very short, and you are all young enough to decide to do that. You don't have kids, you don't have mortgages, do it." And he said to me, "Are you doing what you love?" And I went, And the truth was, I wasn't doing enough of what I loved. And
Yeah, you teach what you need to learn the most sometimes.
yeah,
You can find the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can find us on social media at The Career Farm. So please subscribe to take more control over your career and get expert monthly help and inspiration.
Hi, I'm Lenya.
Hi, I'm Alexandra.
We're Women Bridging the Gap. Two women, one Black, one white, discussing race and womanhood at the hearth level.
We were both affected by Michelle Obama's admission that she was suffering low-grade depression amid the pandemic and the uprising.
We began this podcast in response to the murder of George Floyd, Amy Cooper's weaponization of her white femininity, and the subsequent uprising. We believe that authenticity and conversation can bridge the gap between people of color and white people. What do we all face together? What do we need to own? Where and how do we show compassion? And how do we move forward together?
So
hi,
Brendan,
I'm Alex.
Hi, you're Alex. Hi, you're Lenya. We're passionate, we're loud, we're funny, and we're opinionated. We are feminists, and we believe in abundance. We're not journalists, but we're open about our experiences and eager to learn from others. We want to empower ourselves, and we want to empower others. Did we say we were loud?
Well, everybody deals with it differently.
How have you been handling it?
I'm up and down. Like I'm in the beginning, I didn't even realize that I was getting kind of, I don't like to say the word depressed because there are people who are clinically depressed, but I wasn't feeling myself. Find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts, and find us at womenbridgingthegap.com. We're Women Bridging the Gap. One Black, one white, discussing race and womanhood.
No, one. Oh yeah, you have to say two women. Otherwise, it just sounded like one black bridge and one white bridge. I was like, what the heck are we talking about? All right,
we're talking about the bridges. Okay.
That was Women Bridging the Gap. Another trailer that you just go, I think that was, I mean, yeah, it's just, it's apposite. It's, packed full of meaning. And I can't wait for you to check it out if you haven't already. I'm immensely pleased and I'm British, so I don't really like to say proud. But I'm immensely pleased to be able to hopefully introduce some new podcasts to you that are absolutely worth your time and worth a listen. And I hope you will enjoy every single one of them. And then before that was Jane Barrett at the Career Farm with Grow Your Own Career, which has got some fascinating interviews. If you are someone who's looking to transition or you're just keeping an eye on your career, then absolutely give it a listen as well. So we are in the home straight now. This is quite upsetting. The time has absolutely flown by. I've just taken a little look through the chat, and hello to everyone. And if hopefully we'll have a little bit of time to have a natter with Dave in a tick. But I just want to say thank you for watching and dropping in. Talk about that in a bit as well, but yes, Susie saw the photos of the pizzas that I made because we're friends on Facebook, and thank you. I thought they looked quite nice. The bases are just bought from the co-op, but I did some nice work. They look healthier than they are. That's the conceit anyway. Listen, let's do our final batch of podcasts then. Another absolutely wonderful crop. This one is where we get super historical, and this is the beauty of podcasting at its absolute nichiest, and I think you're going to love it.
Hi, I'm Susan from the Common Room in Newcastle. We've got a new Explore Online section of our website, and part of that is a podcast series called Pioneering Minds. It combines the industrial heritage of the northeast of England with some of the people who made it happen, right from Charles Parsons in the 1800s to engineers who've worked at the factory more recently. It's all been done by the fantastic Ruth Balzera, quality engineer at Siemens. She works at the Siemens factory in Heaton in Newcastle upon Tyne, which used to be home to the company of C.A. Parsons. It's been particularly popular amongst people who are interested in the history of the Northeast or how past engineering innovations have contributed to our lives today. Using heritage to inspire people about engineering is exactly what we do at the Common Room. Our beautiful Grade 2 star listed Victorian building in Newcastle is where great innovations and debates happened to make mining safer. We're going to be engaging with young people to show them this and innovation that's happening in the Northeast today. The building will also be a fantastic place for weddings, events, or just a coffee and a bite to eat. The podcast series is about Charles Parsons, his inventions and world-famous engineering work, along with the magnificent women in his family who played really important roles for women in engineering.
So what we know about Charles Parsons is that in 1884, he developed the world's first steam turbine generator. It was the first machine type that could produce electricity on very large scales, sufficient to make it both plentiful and affordable. And in short, he created a global industry and provided the means to make affordable electricity for everyone. And that is the key point about Charles Parsons. It's bringing electricity to everyone, not just the wealthy.
The Pioneering Minds podcasts explore the history of engineering in the Northeast by a modern-day engineer. She explores the ways that past engineering and innovation have shaped our world today. You can listen to them on Spotify and Apple Podcasts by searching for Common Room GN. You can also listen to them on our website, where you can see historic images that go alongside them. Because this series has been so popular, Ruth is also planning to do a talk for us on Zoom or similar, so there'll be a chance to ask her questions as well. We'll post about that on our social media, so keep an eye on there if you're interested. If you do decide to listen to our podcast series, we really hope you enjoy it.
Hi, I'm sorry it's me who has to talk to you about Not the Gear, the Photographer's Podcast, but I'm the guy with the camera, and this is the day the video's due. I'm sorry it's me because while I've always had an interest in photography, and I hope anyone who listens has an interest in photography, the people who have been the most exciting and interesting on the show have been our guests and our regular hosts, Tanya Nagar, who is a photographer based in London, who travels the world, and Dan M. Lee, a photographer based in New York, who, and his sense of humor certainly, originates in the UK. It's Not the Gear because we want to be clear that this podcast is taking a visual medium but talking about it in an audio format. What we want to talk about is the experience and things that anyone and everyone can get from photography, whether they use a phone or a very expensive camera. And what we're not going to do is spend a long time selling equipment to people. And the reason we have to mention it is because almost everyone else does. Now, I understand you can get a 5% cut from Amazon if you persuade the people to buy things, but I don't really feel it's our job to trick you into buying something that we might not have tried, and we're proud not to have done. Now, our logo is an asterisk because, you know, we're still photographers. We're still going to end up talking about equipment from time to time. We can't help it. It's in our nerd street. But More importantly, you're going to hear from guests who are going to tell you about how they've done everything from fashion to radioactive sites. We're proud to take an in-depth approach, and we've had some great guests, photographers who have visited all corners of the world, including some corners that the United Nations don't even believe exists.
Like, I've been to Transnistria twice. No, that's something someone made up for a book. Yeah. And yeah, because it essentially would be in eastern Moldova.
One of the things we're very proud of is the book we've created called COVID Street, which is a photography book of street photography from around the world, submitted by our listeners and other enthusiasts. And you can find us under COVID Street on Instagram or on the Not the Gear site. And there are some great episodes in which we interview people finding interesting and unusual ways to get on with their photographs. Something else that I'm working on with Dan is a game called Camera Caper. And all of this comes from having one of the most interesting audiences that you can hope to have. And we would love it if you joined us as well.
Yeah, check it out and let me know what you think. I'm always up for getting some feedback, as long as it's not abusive. I don't like abusive feedback. No, occasionally I do like abusive feedback.
Careful, internet.
Yeah.
Careful.
So that was Not the Gear, the photographers podcast. And before that was the podcast by The Common Room, which is this amazing building in the northeast of England, who are undergoing all sorts of changes at the moment. And they're telling really remarkable stories about the people who have worked in engineering, coal mining, and all sorts of stuff throughout. Well, I was going to say the centuries. That might not be far off. This has been so much fun. Before I do anything else, I want to give massive thanks to Dave and to Steve, because they're doing incredible work, and this has been so much fun, and they've made it super easy. Like, they really have, and they deserve all the credit and all the plaudits. Hello, Dave. Hello, mate. So yes, I've got a hungry cat that wants in on the action now. I've got cat number 2 over there.
I think everybody should have a podcat. Yep. And if not, we have them for sale over at International Podcast Day.
There you go. Podcasts for everyone. Podcasts for the people.
For everyone. You know, Mark, a couple things. Number one, thanks for being a gold sponsor and using that opportunity not to reflect upon yourself, but the communities and the amazing people that are out there doing incredible work. And I applaud you.
Thank you. We've got a great, just to make a very, very quick point, because I know that there is that question, and for people who came in later, like, this was not a showcase of Podiant. Like, there are some Podiant podcasts in here, but this was open to everyone. So yeah, it genuinely was just like an expression of my love for the medium and the community. So yeah.
I know the entire community world appreciates it. And I wish I had the talents that you have to be able to produce something like that. I can't even draw stick figures.
You put on an international event, come on.
Oh, that's easy. I just make Dave do all the hard work.
Well, that's what I've got the cats doing, really.
It's true. So on behalf of the entire organization and International Podcast Day, Mark, thank you once again, and happy International Podcast Day.
Thank you.